Many old Hollywood romances were hidden from the public, protected by studio fixers and whispered about only in secret. Some were brief and scandalous, others lasting and complicated, yet all left their mark on the stars involved. Here are 22 secret affairs that changed vintage Hollywood forever. Mary Pickford and Douglas Fairbanks. Mary Pickford, adored worldwide as America's sweetheart, and Douglas Fairbanks Sr., the charismatic swashbuckler, were two of silent cinema's brightest stars. In 1916, they began a secret romance. Despite both being married to others, fearful of public backlash, they relied on disguises, friends, and hidden meetings to protect their love from prying eyes. For years, Pickford remained in an unhappy marriage, while Fairbanks stayed with his wife. In 1918, he divorced, and by early 1920, Pickford followed. Their wedding soon after made international headlines. To their surprise, the public embraced them. The Los Angeles Times proclaimed their famous film romance crowned by nuptials, and fans welcomed them as Hollywood's royal couple. The two built a lavish life at their estate, Pickfair, and co-founded United Artists. At a time when divorced stars risked scandal and career ruin, they showed that audiences could forgive and even cheer such unions. Their marriage set a precedent in Hollywood, loosening rigid moral expectations and proving that a well-told love story could triumph over controversy. Marion Davies and William Randolph Hearst. Powerful newspaper magnate William Randolph Hearst and actress Marion Davies maintained a decades-long relationship, while Hearst remained married to another woman. By the 1920s, they lived openly together, with Hearst using his vast influence to promote her career. In 1924, they boarded Hearst's yacht with several guests, including Charlie Chaplin and producer Thomas Ince. During the trip, Ince fell ill and died shortly afterward. Official reports cited indigestion or a heart attack, but rumors told another story that Hearst, suspecting an affair between Davies and Chaplin, tried to shoot Chaplin and accidentally killed Ince. A valet claimed to see Ince carried off with a head wound, and writer Eleanor Glynn recalled guests being sworn to secrecy. Hearst's newspapers insisted on natural causes, but gossip persisted. The incident became one of Hollywood's most enduring mysteries, inspiring films and books. Though never proven, the story left a lasting shadow over Hearst and Davies' romance, becoming a cautionary tale of jealousy, power, and the dangerous whispers that can follow. Charlie Chaplin and Lita Grey. In 1924, 35-year-old Charlie Chaplin began a relationship with 16-year-old actress Lita Grey. When she became pregnant, the threat of a statutory rape scandal loomed. To avoid public disgrace and possible legal action, the studio arranged a secret marriage in Mexico. The union quickly soured. By 1927, Grey filed for divorce, and the case became one of Hollywood's first major celebrity scandals. Her accusations of Chaplin's infidelity, cruelty, and shocking sexual behavior were leaked to the press, captivating the public. The settlement, about $825,000, was a record at the time. Women's groups called for Chaplin's films to be banned, and the negative publicity severely damaged his reputation. This episode fueled calls for stricter moral oversight in Hollywood, contributing to the enforcement of the production code in the 1930s. For Chaplin, the affair marked a turning point, with his image in the United States forever altered. Ultimately, it demonstrated that even the most celebrated stars could not always shield their private lives from public judgment. Gloria Swanson and Joseph Kennedy. In the late 1920s, silent film star Gloria Swanson began a passionate affair with businessman Joseph Kennedy, father of future President John F. Kennedy. Both were married to others. Kennedy became Swanson's producing partner on the lavish film Queen Kelly 1929, and during production they grew deeply involved. The romance was an open secret on set and contributed to the end of Swanson's third marriage. Under Kennedy's influence, Swanson dismissed longtime staff, handed him control of her finances, and invested heavily in Queen Kelly. The film spiraled into trouble. Director Erich von Stroheim's extravagance drove costs up, and Kennedy's inexperience worsened the situation. Production halted before completion, and Kennedy's later attempts to salvage it failed. As the film collapsed, so did their relationship. Kennedy, facing professional embarrassment and family pressure, ended the affair. Swanson was left bankrupt and heartbroken, forced to take less favorable studio contracts and even borrow money. For Kennedy, it was a rare defeat. He soon left Hollywood. For Swanson, it became a cautionary tale about mixing love and business. She later reflected on her naivete in trusting a lover with her career, a costly lesson etched into Hollywood history. Clark Gable and Joan Crawford. In early 1930s Hollywood, Clark Gable and Joan Crawford's chemistry in films like Possessed ignited rumors, and with good reason. While Crawford was married to Douglas Fairbanks Jr. and Gable to Rhea Langham, the two began a passionate affair during filming. MGM, fearing scandal, urged discretion. The couple kept their tryst to Crawford's dressing room trailer, after hours on set or discreet hotel meetings. Soon it became an open secret at the studio. Colleagues noticed their early arrivals and late departures. When studio boss Louis B. Mayer learned of it, he threatened their careers if they didn't end it. Gossip later claimed Gable was removed from Letty Linton as punishment. Despite Mayer's pressure, the romance continued intermittently for years, outlasting Crawford's divorce and into Gable's later marriage to Carole Lombard. Crawford admitted later, "We had an affair, a glorious affair, and it went on a lot longer than anybody knows." Protected by MGM's control of the press, their liaison never reached scandal headlines, but in Hollywood circles, it was legendary. The Gable-Crawford affair became a model for the studio-era romance, intense, clandestine, and carefully managed to keep the public image spotless. Clark Gable and Loretta Young. In 1935, while filming The Call of the Wild, Clark Gable and Loretta Young had a brief romance. Gable was married. Young, a devout Catholic, was bound by morality clauses in her contracts. When Young became pregnant, both feared for her career. To avoid scandal, Young vanished from public view under the guise of a European vacation. She secretly gave birth to a daughter, then staged an adoption months later, claiming the child came from an orphanage. Hollywood insiders whispered, especially noting the girl's resemblance to Gable, but the truth stayed hidden. Gable never publicly acknowledged paternity, though he provided support through the studio. The deception preserved Young's wholesome image and kept her career intact. The truth began to surface in the 1950s and was fully revealed when the daughter, Judy Lewis, wrote a memoir in 1994. Only in 2000 did Young herself confirm it. This affair showcased the extreme measures Hollywood used to shield stars, and the double standard that forced an actress to hide her own child to survive professionally. It remains one of the most remarkable cover-ups in studio history. Greta Garbo and Mercedes de Acosta. In the early 1930s, Greta Garbo, Hollywood's elusive star, formed a close bond with writer and socialite Mercedes de Acosta. Known for her relationships with prominent women, de Acosta met Garbo around 1931, and they began what friends described as a sporadic, intense romance. Both women moved in theatrical and Hollywood circles, where same-sex relationships were kept deeply private. They exchanged deeply personal letters, Garbo's, sealed for decades after her death, hint at profound intimacy. While Garbo never publicly confirmed the relationship, de Acosta was more open, which later caused a rift when she published a memoir in 1960. During their relationship, they traveled together in Europe and met quietly in New York, sharing artistic interests and emotional connection. The affair stayed hidden from the press, protected by the era's strict taboos and Garbo's fierce insistence on privacy. While it never became a public scandal, the relationship shaped Garbo's guarded persona and contributed to her avoidance of marriage and public romances with men. Today, their story is recognized as part of Hollywood's queer history, a reminder of the hidden lives behind Golden Age legends and the secrecy demanded of same-sex love. Cary Grant and Randolph Scott. From the early 1930s into the 1940s, Cary Grant's closest relationship appeared to be with fellow actor Randolph Scott. They met in 1932 and soon shared a Santa Monica beach house, officially as roommates but in a domestic arrangement that lasted on and off for about 12 years. Fan magazines published playful photos of the two at home, poolside, cooking and joking, images that hinted at more than friendship. In a time when open homosexuality was unthinkable in Hollywood, such publicity was striking. Rumors spread that Grant and Scott were living in what some called a bachelor marriage. Hedda Hopper publicly questioned Grant's private life, yet both men dated and later married women. Still, speculation never faded. While neither confirmed any romance, their situation became one of Hollywood's most famous, hidden in plain sight relationships. The studio system's publicity machine managed the story, and the public accepted their roommate's explanation. In hindsight, their bond is often cited as an example of how queer relationships survived under the pressures of the Golden Age. Whether viewed as deep friendship or something more, the Grant-Scott partnership remains one of Hollywood's most intriguing open secrets. Gary Cooper and Patricia Neal. When Gary Cooper met 21-year-old Patricia Neal on the set of The Fountainhead in 1949, he was 47, married, and an established star. Their on-screen chemistry mirrored a passionate off-screen affair that lasted 3 years, despite Cooper's wife and young daughter. Neal described Cooper as the great love of her life. The relationship intensified until Neal became pregnant. Cooper, fearing personal and professional fallout, urged her to have an abortion. She complied, but the emotional impact was severe. By 1951, under pressure from his wife and guided by his Catholic beliefs, Cooper ended the affair. Neal suffered a mental breakdown and left Hollywood for a time. Cooper's public image largely survived intact, but whispers of the scandal persisted within the industry. Neal's career momentum faltered, with some blaming the stigma of the affair and the whisper campaigns around it. She eventually returned to acting and later won an Academy Award, but the experience underscored the double standards of the era, where the younger woman bore more of the professional cost. The Cooper-Neal romance remains a poignant example of love overshadowed by Hollywood's moral codes. Spencer Tracy and Katharine Hepburn. Spencer Tracy and Katharine Hepburn met while filming Woman of the Year in 1942 and began a relationship that lasted 27 years. Tracy, a devout Catholic, never divorced his wife, and Hepburn respected his wish for privacy, never speaking publicly about him until after his wife's death. They appeared in 9 films together, their on-screen chemistry matched by a private life spent quietly together on the MGM lot, on secluded vacations, and in Tracy's home. Within Hollywood, their love was an open secret. To the public, it was invisible, carefully shielded by the studio system. MGM ensured separate public appearances and controlled press coverage, keeping any whiff of scandal away. Hepburn cared for Tracy during his battles with alcoholism and ill health, staying by his side until his death in 1967. Their relationship, though unconventional, became one of Hollywood's most enduring love stories. It showed that a deep, committed partnership could exist entirely outside the public gaze. Today, their story is remembered as a testament to devotion and the lengths the studio system went to protect its most bankable stars from scandal. Vivien Leigh and Peter Finch. By the early 1950s, Vivien Leigh's marriage to Sir Laurence Olivier was strained by her struggles with bipolar disorder and the pressures of constant work. During a 1948 tour, the Olivier met Australian actor Peter Finch. Olivier signed him to his company, unaware Finch would soon become Leigh's lover. Their affair deepened over several years. On the set of Elephant Walk in 1953, Leigh's involvement with Finch was evident. She confessed her infidelity to Olivier that year, but they tried to maintain appearances. Finch became both partner and caretaker during her emotional episodes. Though Olivier and Leigh did not divorce until 1960, the marriage was effectively over. Leigh's health declined further. A miscarriage in 1956 deepened her depression. The affair, coupled with her illness, affected her casting prospects, as Hollywood viewed instability as a liability. Finch's career continued to rise, but Leigh's brilliance became intermittent, with flashes like A Streetcar Named Desire. The romance ultimately ended one of the most celebrated theatrical marriages, illustrating how personal struggles could unravel even perfect Hollywood unions. It remains a bittersweet chapter in both Leigh's and Finch's lives. Ingrid Bergman and Roberto Rossellini. In the 1940s, Ingrid Bergman was Hollywood's model of grace and virtue, celebrated for Casablanca and her wholesome image. That image shattered in 1950 when, during filming of Stromboli in Italy, the married Bergman began an affair with director Roberto Rossellini, also married at the time. The romance led to a pregnancy, igniting an international scandal. In the US, outrage was fierce. A senator denounced her on the Senate floor as a powerful influence for evil, and the Vatican publicly condemned her. Bergman divorced her husband, married Rossellini, and gave birth to their son, but Hollywood effectively blacklisted her. Unable to work in America, she made films in Europe with Rossellini, while paparazzi hounded her every move. The scandal became one of the first modern celebrity morality plays, drawing intense global press attention. Bergman's exile lasted 7 years, ending with her Oscar-winning comeback in Anastasia, 1957. In time, public opinion softened, and even her harshest critics apologized. Her experience showed Hollywood that even its most admired stars could be undone by scandal, but also that a powerful comeback was possible. Frank Sinatra and Ava Gardner. By 1949, Frank Sinatra's image was that of a devoted family man. Ava Gardner was Hollywood's sultry love goddess. When they began an affair while Sinatra was still married to his first wife, Nancy, the press erupted. Their romance was passionate, public, and explosive, with paparazzi following them from nightclubs to arguments on the street. Fans and sponsors disapproved. Sinatra's record sales dropped, he lost his radio show, and film offers dried up. In 1951, after divorcing Nancy, Sinatra married Gardner, but their union was just as tempestuous as their courtship. Their fights were legendary, their reconciliations equally intense. Though the marriage lasted only until 1953, divorce finalized in 1957, Gardner played a key role in reviving Sinatra's career. She championed him for From Here to Eternity, 1953, which won him an Oscar and restored his stardom. The Sinatra-Gardner saga marked a turning point in celebrity culture. Scandal could nearly destroy a career, but it could also fuel a compelling public persona. It also signaled the growing influence of paparazzi and gossip columns in shaping Hollywood narratives. Rita Hayworth and Prince Ali Khan. In 1948, newly divorced Rita Hayworth, Hollywood's top pinup and star of Gilda, met Prince Ali Khan on the French Riviera. Their whirlwind romance captured headlines worldwide, with lavish dates and glamorous public appearances. Ali Khan was still technically married, and their courtship stirred controversy, especially among conservative fans. In 1949, Hayworth married the prince in a lavish ceremony, becoming one of the first Hollywood actresses to wed into royalty. She retired from acting, moving into a world of palaces and international society, but the fairy tale quickly soured. By 1951, Ali Khan's infidelity, including being photographed dancing with actress Joan Fontaine, pushed Hayworth to return to America with their infant daughter. She filed for divorce, finalized in 1953, and entered a bitter custody dispute. Hayworth's career momentum slowed during her princess years, and her public image shifted. Yet, the romance remains one of Hollywood's most glamorous love stories, illustrating the allure and challenges of crossing between movie stardom and aristocracy, and helping establish the modern paparazzi frenzy around celebrity weddings. Barbara Payton, Franchot Tone, and Tom Neal. In 1951, actress Barbara Payton was engaged to suave actor Franchot Tone, while simultaneously involved with hot-headed B-movie star Tom Neal. The rivalry turned violent on September 14, 1951, when Neal confronted Tone at Payton's home and brutally beat him, leaving Tone with severe facial injuries and a concussion. The brawl made global headlines. Incredibly, Tone married Payton weeks later, while still visibly battered. The marriage lasted only 7 weeks before she returned to Neal. By 1952, Tone divorced her, and Payton resumed her volatile relationship with Neal. The scandal destroyed all 3 careers. Tone lost his romantic lead status, Neal was branded a violent thug and blacklisted, and Payton was shunned by studios. She spiraled into poverty and alcoholism, later writing a candid memoir about her downfall. The affair became an early example of tabloid culture overtaking Hollywood's PR control. It also gave a real-life face to the femme fatale archetype, and showed how a scandal could not just end careers, but also risk lives. Joan Bennett and Walter Wanger. In 1951, producer Walter Wanger suspected his wife, actress Joan Bennett, of having an affair with her agent, Jennings Lang. On December 13th, he confronted them in a Beverly Hills parking lot and shot Lang in the groin. Lang survived, and Wanger was arrested on the spot. Charged with assault with a deadly weapon, Wanger served just 4 months in jail, claiming he only meant to scare Lang. The scandal was front-page news and effectively ended Bennett's film career, despite her denials of any affair. While Wanger eventually resumed producing, Bennett struggled to find work, moving to stage and television. The incident revealed a double standard. The man who fired the gun kept his career, while the woman at the center of suspicion was exiled. The Bennett Wanger shooting became one of Hollywood's wildest scandals, showing that not all star misdeeds could be managed by studio PR, and that personal passions could shatter even the most carefully crafted public images. Lana Turner and Johnny Stompanado. In 1957, Lana Turner, the glamorous sweater girl of the silver screen, began a turbulent romance with mob enforcer Johnny Stompanado. Their relationship was passionate but marred by possessiveness and reported abuse. Turner, fiercely independent, clashed often with Stompanado, and their quarrels sometimes spilled into public view. Hollywood whispered about the star and the gangster, but the studio kept quiet. On April 4, 1958, during a heated argument in Turner's Beverly Hills home, Stompanado allegedly threatened her life. Fearing for her mother, Turner's 14-year-old daughter, Cheryl Crane, stabbed him with a kitchen knife, killing him instantly. The coroner ruled Cheryl's act justifiable homicide, sparing her any charges. Public sympathy flowed to Turner and her daughter, though the scandal altered Turner's image forever. She returned to the screen with Imitation of Life in 1959, but the Stompanado affair became an inseparable part of her legend. The tragedy prompted studios to tighten morality clauses and reinforce the dangers of mixing Hollywood glamour with underworld intrigue. For Turner and her daughter, it forged a bond born of trauma, and for Hollywood, it was a cautionary tale with all the drama of a noir film come to life. Debbie Reynolds, Eddie Fisher, and Elizabeth Taylor. In the late 1950s, Debbie Reynolds and Eddie Fisher embodied wholesome Hollywood romance. They were close friends with Elizabeth Taylor and her husband Mike Todd. When Todd died in a 1958 plane crash, Fisher offered comfort to Taylor, comfort that soon turned into an affair. By 1959, Fisher left Reynolds and married Taylor, igniting one of Hollywood's most notorious love triangles. Fans rallied to "Good Girl Reynolds," while Taylor was vilified as a homewrecker. Fisher's career collapsed under public disapproval. His television show was canceled and record sales plummeted. Reynolds, gracious in public, refused to attack either of them, earning even greater affection. In time, she and Taylor reconciled, but Fisher never regained his golden boy image. The scandal marked a turning point in celebrity culture, ushering in an era where tabloids feasted on real-life star drama. It also showed that public loyalty could crown one figure a survivor while condemning another to career decline, a pattern Hollywood would see many times again. Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton. In 1962, Elizabeth Taylor was already infamous for the Eddie Fisher scandal when she began filming Cleopatra in Rome. Playing opposite her as Mark Antony was Richard Burton, a married Welsh actor known for his talent and charm. Taylor herself was still married to Fisher, but the chemistry between her and Burton was immediate and impossible to hide. Their on-set romance quickly became global news. Paparazzi swarmed the Cinecittà studios, capturing stolen kisses and intimate yacht photos. The Vatican's newspaper condemned their erotic vagrancy, while a U.S. congresswoman even suggested barring them from re-entering the country. The scandal eclipsed major world events and fed the press for months. Both left their spouses, and by 1964, Taylor and Burton were married. Far from ending the frenzy, their union intensified it. They became the first true paparazzi power couple, with every move chronicled. Their films together, such as Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, blended their fiery real-life relationship with on-screen drama, cementing their legend. The Burton-Taylor affair changed Hollywood permanently. It proved that negative publicity could still drive ticket sales, loosened moral expectations for stars, and signaled the start of relentless tabloid pursuit, turning celebrity romance into a high-stakes public spectacle. Errol Flynn and Beverly Adland. By the late 1950s, Errol Flynn was an aging icon of swashbuckling Hollywood, known as much for his womanizing as for his film roles. In 1957, at 48, Flynn began a clandestine romance with Beverly Adland, a 15-year-old chorus girl he met at Warner Brothers Studios. Flynn's health was declining and his drinking heavy, yet he charmed Beverly and, shockingly, her mother, who approved of the relationship and often accompanied them on travels. For 2 years, Adland was Flynn's constant companion, joining him on yacht trips, film sets, and overseas journeys. The affair was statutory rape by law, but it was largely hushed within Hollywood, protected by a lingering code of silence from his earlier court acquittal on similar charges. Still, whispers circulated about Flynn's jailbait girlfriend. The affair ended abruptly in October 1959 when Flynn died of a heart attack in Vancouver, collapsing in Beverly's arms. Once the press learned of her age, the scandal exploded. Beverly was hounded by reporters, grilled by police, and pushed into co-authoring a lurid memoir with her mother. Flynn's death with an underage lover shattered part of Hollywood's golden image. It exposed the industry's tolerance for predation and pushed California towards stricter protections for minors, marking a cultural shift that old Hollywood could no longer ignore. Gloria Grahame and Tony Ray. Gloria Grahame, the sultry Oscar-winning actress of The Bad and the Beautiful, had a Hollywood career built on mystery and allure. But her most infamous chapter was not a movie plot. It was a scandal that would shadow her for life. In the early 1950s, Grahame was married to director Nicholas Ray. Their relationship was troubled, but Nicholas claimed the ultimate betrayal came in 1950 when he allegedly found Grahame in bed with his 13-year-old son, Anthony Tony Ray, from a previous marriage. Nicholas divorced her in 1952, keeping the precise allegations out of public record. Hollywood insiders whispered about the incident, but it remained a hidden stain. Years passed, and in 1958, Grahame reconnected with Tony, now in his 20s. Their relationship turned romantic, and in 1960, she married her former stepson. When this became public knowledge, the shock was explosive. The rumors that their affair had begun during Tony's adolescence made Grahame a pariah. Studios distanced themselves, and her once bright career collapsed. She moved to the UK, working in smaller productions and stage plays, far from Hollywood's glare. The scandal became one of the Golden Age's darkest legends. It revealed that even in permissive Hollywood, certain taboos could end a career overnight, no matter how glamorous or talented the star. Carol Landis and Rex Harrison. Carol Landis was a vivacious blonde star of the 1940s, beloved for her pin-up charm and bubbly screen presence. But by 1948, her career was waning and her personal life was riddled with heartbreak. 3 divorces behind her, and her confidence shaken. That summer, she began a passionate affair with actor Rex Harrison, who was married to actress Lily Palmer. The relationship was an open secret in Hollywood. Landis fell deeply in love, convinced Harrison would divorce Palmer to be with her. They traveled together, exchanged letters, and met in secret. But Harrison's commitment never matched hers. On the night of July 4th, 1948, after an evening together, Harrison bluntly told Landis he would not leave his wife. Heartbroken, Landis returned to her Brentwood home and took an overdose of sleeping pills. The next day, Harrison and Landis's maid found her body. She left a note for her mother and reportedly one for Harrison, which mysteriously vanished. Harrison denied knowing why she had taken her life, but the public suspected otherwise. While his career continued, Landis's death became a cautionary tale about Hollywood's cruel disposability, especially toward women. Her tragic end spotlighted the emotional toll of both unrequited love and the industry's unforgiving nature. These hidden romances shaped careers, broke hearts, and proved that even Hollywood's brightest stars had secrets. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this look at old Hollywood's private lives, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts on which romance surprised you most.